Hi, I'm Samuel Thomas. I'm the women's soccer coach here at Principia College. I've been coaching college soccer for 11 years now. I've had experience at the NAIA level, the D2 and D1 level, and now coming back to coach at Principia, my alma mater. I'm enjoying being back at the D3 level. I think one of the most important things for a coach to know when coaching an athlete with a disability is their specific needs. Every athlete with a disability or not is going to have unique things that they respond to and things that they need. And as a coach, it's really important to get to know all your athletes and all their needs, but particularly if you have an athlete with a disability, their needs might require a little more attention in order to be met. Not just needs, but also their experiences. They might have had different experiences than a lot of your other athletes. So getting to know those experiences can help you in situations when similar things arise or different things arise that maybe they haven't encountered before that might require more focus on their needs. So I think it's really important to get to know the individual early and often as well as environments change and situations change. And when you have that knowledge, I think being present and always being ready to act on that is huge, because you never know when something can arise, and if you're attentive, then you're always prepared. Well, it expands my horizons. I think that's one of the biggest positives is it helps me and my experience and my worldview grow, and that allows me to help other athletes in the future even more, whether they have a disability or not. Having that broader horizon and better understanding and more thoughtful preparation for environments helps me help others, which I've really loved discovering. I think it also helps the team because as a college coach, you're not just in the position to help student athletes grow in a different environment, but student athletes in college are constantly being exposed to forces that they haven't experienced before. And I think having someone on the team who has a disability or multiple players with disabilities can expose your student athletes to even more of those different environments and opportunities. And that can stretch them, it can help them grow, it can help them become more thoughtful, compassionate members of society. And what a better opportunity for a team to have to learn, to grow, to come together, than to have individuals on the team that challenge them and give them opportunities to be supportive in ways maybe they haven't before. I don't think there's any major obstacles. I think when you're coaching any individual, you are going to have different things that you need to focus on, right? And so for an athlete with a disability, I think it's less an obstacle and more an opportunity, where it might challenge you to be more focused and be more attentive. I don't really think that's an obstacle. I think the thing with being more aware is it just makes you better at your job for all your athletes. And you might have an athlete who has a physical limitation, maybe not a disability, but a different kind of limitation. You might have an athlete who has needs in the classroom. You might have an athlete who has needs at home. You might have an athlete who has needs elsewhere. And I don't think any of those are obstacles. I think they're opportunities for the coach to, help that athlete overcome those and realize that those previously felt obstacles are opportunities not just for you, the coach, but also for the athlete. So I think, again, being aware and being alert and trying to look for opportunities to help that athlete overcome those challenges and grow is something that is a real responsibility for a coach, but it's an opportunity for us to continue to grow in our own profession. I think recruiting athletes with disabilities could be improved with awareness. I don't think there's much of a conversation around recruiting athletes with disabilities right now. And because it's not part of the dialogue, it's not part of the conversation, it's not part of the coaching education cycle. Having gotten a bunch of coaching licenses, none of them have ever touched on athletes with disabilities. Now, that's not to say that some of the newer ones aren't. Mine are a couple of years old now, but again, it's just not a topic of conversation that comes up very often. And same thing when, as a coach, we're speaking to opposing coaches or referees before the game, it's important for us to try and let them know that we have an athlete with a disability and how that might change that player, how they're perceived by the opposing coach or by the referees in a game, and different things for them to be aware of. A lot of coaches and opposing coaches and referees are caught off guard because it's something that they haven't encountered. And I think that permeates through the recruiting process as well, where if coaches don't know how to deal with the situation, they just stay away from it. That way they don't have to figure out how to work with it. And I think that's a very short-term avoiding of the situation that isn't really benefiting the recruits and isn't supporting the recruits in any way. And I think the coaches who are prepared to engage on the topic and recruit athletes with disabilities are going to have opportunities that other coaches aren't. But I would love to see more education in the coaching sphere, in the recruiting sphere, about how to work with athletes with different disabilities, what attentions and needs those coaches need to be aware of in order to service those athletes just as they're servicing every other athlete. Yeah, I think the big thing is just being open and upfront. When I had my first conversation with Kaylee, she let me know right away over the phone, and we still talked for a really, really long time anyways. I think it was almost a jumping off point to start our topic of conversation. And I think getting off on the right foot that way helped me be more prepared for our future conversations to meet needs that she might have, whether I'm talking too quietly on the phone or whether there's wind in my ear and she can't hear me clearly or whatever. And I think it helped put her at ease that we were able to have that conversation early. And it put me at ease too. I think I would have had not a different reaction, but I would have been more caught off guard to find that out later and would have felt bad and second-guessed all my earlier conversations. And so I think having that conversation right away set both of us up for success and to very much set the tone for the environment that our conversations were taking place in. I think what it also did is it gave me as a coach an opportunity to ask what her needs were and how, as a coach, I could help meet them. And I think that's a real good, clear indicator for student athletes in the recruiting process. If a coach isn't prepared to meet those needs, then maybe it's worth looking around to try and find a coach who is. Because that's going to be your environment for multiple years, and that's going to be several hours of your day for multiple years. So I think as much as it's important to educate the coaches on how to handle that situation, I think it's also important to encourage the recruits to initiate that conversation and trust that if the coach is going to respond in a positive way, then that's a real trusting place for that athlete to look to pursue. I think one of the things that can help any athlete feel included is similar to what I said earlier with the coach being aware of their needs. If any person is coming into a new environment, they're going to be looking around for things that are familiar, things that are comfortable. And as a coach or a leader in any profession, it's really important to make those around you feel comfortable, feel at ease, and to put them in environments where they can be successful. And for an athlete with a hearing disability, then being a loud enough coach is really, really important. Or standing close enough to that athlete can help them so that they don't feel singled out by you being loud, but they can hear you clearly where others might not have to focus so hard. I think that can really help with comfort. I think the other thing is making sure, as long as the athlete with the disability is comfortable with this, making sure that others in the environment are aware as well. And so if you've got an athlete with a hearing disability, then if everyone on the team is aware of that, then everyone can speak in a volume that accommodates that individual. And it's not something where that individual has to keep going out of their way to ask again and again, what did they say? What did he say? What did she say? And I think that translates to all athletes with disabilities is if the environment is supportive of that individual, then everyone's actions are supportive of that disability. And I think that applies not just to athletes with disabilities, but I think that applies to any person in any environment. There's opportunities to make that environment suitable and welcoming for everybody, and that can only make better environments for everyone, especially those with disabilities and extra needs. Yeah, I think respect is just one of those things that everyone deserves, base minimum. And so to make sure athletes with disabilities are treated with respect might come down to a coach being receptive to the environment that those athletes are competing in. Sometimes in the heat of competition, individuals might say things that might not suit the environment, that might be unsportsmanlike, that might have negative connotations. And if you're in the position to defend that athlete, protect the environment, keep the environment safe, I think that goes a long ways towards helping that person trust you as a coach and trust that relationship, but also keep coming back to that environment and want to be that environment. And so creating a welcoming environment in competition is really, really important because it not only makes that a safe environment, but it allows that individual to compete to their best, just as every other athlete is supported and competing at their best. I think it's everyone's responsibility. I think it is very much a team effort. I think because the coach has probably more of a voice and more confidence in that environment, it's on the coach to initiate that. But I think it's really important for that athlete to feel comfortable educating others because they can advocate for that safe environment for themselves. But it certainly falls on the individuals who have maybe more authority, more power, more control to be the loudest voice there, to really push to create that environment, to support that athlete. And in doing so, you give that athlete comfort to advocate for themselves because they know they have support. I think it's been a wonderful blessing to coach an athlete with a disability. I think it's really stretched me as a coach. It's given me opportunities to be more empathetic with my student athletes, to be a more aware leader. I think it's given me opportunities to step outside of my comfort zone and really help make a difference, not just in that individual's life, but in how impacting that individual's lives can give me an opportunity to impact other lives in a similar fashion. So it's been a blessing that I didn't know would come about in that way, and selfishly, I'm really happy for the opportunity.